Why is, oh, the mic does work. Oh, good. Weird. It doesn't work when we're waiting. Well, we're live. A little techie issues this morning. Okay. Good morning. September
Good morning.
15th. Sorry, I'm a little discombobulated. You were going to talk about this passage of the book, and I was going to send a link to Marvin.
Yes.
So why don't you start by introducing what you're going to read, and then read it.
Okay.
And I will be listening, but doing this for
Okay. I thought it might be fun today to talk to you, since I've talked a little bit about my time in India with Osho. I thought it might be fun for you to hear what Osho said to me, or Bhagwan said to me, about my name. And he said, when I was there in India and I took darshan, Bhagwan said to me, this will be your new name, Ma Deva Asangato. Deva means divine. Asangato means inconsistent. Self-contradiction, divine inconsistency, or divine contradiction. Life is not logical. So those who search for consistency in life go on missing. Life consists of contradictions. It's a constant balancing between contradictions, day and night, love and hate, life and death, summer and winter, man and woman. If one looks deeply into life, one will find that contradiction is the rule, not the exception. It exists through paradoxes. The logical mind insists on consistency. Then it has to choose. And whenever you choose, you can only choose half. The other half has to be denied. That's what has happened down the ages. Those who choose the body deny the soul. They have to be consistent. Those who choose the soul have to deny the body. They have to deny the body to be consistent. Otherwise, they look inconsistent. If God is, then they have to say that the world is illusory, Maya. If the world is true, as Marxists say, as communists say, then God is just an illusion. The whole of philosophy up to now has been a kind of choice, either or. My whole teaching is not of either or, but of both and. Don't choose. Choice makes a person lopsided. One becomes a materialist, another becomes a spiritualist, and both are half dead, half alive. Both are missing the totality, and the reason is their chronic insistence on consistency. They are not courageous enough to accept the contradiction. They are not courageous enough to accept life as it is. They have a should. It should be like this. We cannot impose anything on life. It doesn't care a bit about our logic, about our math, about our minds. It goes on its own way. It's dialectical, and it is good that it is dialectical and not logical. If it was logical, it would be flat. Just think of a world of only women, no men. It would be a flat world of men only and no women. Again, it would be flat. Just think of a world where only pleasure exists and no pain. It would be a flat world. Even pleasure would become nauseating, unbearable. People would want to vomit it. It would not be possible to digest it anymore. Just think of a life of only roses and no thorns. People dream of that life, but they don't know. That life would be boredom. Those thorns are a must. They make life a challenge, a struggle, an adventure. They make it worth living. I'm all for self-contradictoriness of life. That's why many people are so puzzled by my statements, because I contradict, and I constantly contradict, because I believe in life, not logic. I have to contradict to be true. Consistency is always false. Truth is always inconsistent. It has to be big enough to contain the opposite polarity in it. And I also contradict continuously as a method so that you don't cling to anything. I don't give you a certain philosophy of life. I give with one hand and I immediately take it away with the other hand because I don't want to tell you the truth. It cannot be told. I nodded in sympathy. All that my effort is to provoke the truth in you, not to tell it to you. Confusion is my method. You can call me Confucius, but life is that. We all started laughing. And I'm going to give you one of the most beautiful names possible. Nobody else in the world can give you that name.
Many questions. First off, I understand he wrote hundreds of books, but he didn't write them. People would scribe what he was saying. Is that
They were
true?
transcriptions.
Transcription, yeah. And so was that book, like that passage in there was during your period of being there?
That was specifically for me.
Right. Okay.
Yes, that was exactly what he said to me.
Yeah, cool.
Exact transcript.
Interesting.
And there was one for when I left. This was when I arrived and took sannyas. And then when I left, when I was preparing to leave, I took darshan again. And that's when he gave me essentially the sun-moon meditation, which is essentially the microcosmic that I talked about yesterday.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it makes me think, I spent a lot of time in the last year contemplating, like always trying to be happy. And it came to the conclusion that like you can't know happiness unless you know sad.
Exactly.
So it's a pendulum swinging, right? And so I've been really trying to like have the pendulum not swing as wide, right? That's really what is just, it still makes it swing.
It can swing wide, but don't get stuck. That's the key. You keep moving. And when Osho Bhagwan said this to me, it was so right on, because in the moment, you have to be truthful, but things shift. And as we grow, we have nuances, and you can't always be consistent. You might say one thing for one person and the complete opposite for the other person, and they may both be exactly right.
I guess the next thing I want to ask you, like from a design standpoint, there was exalted and detriment, and then there's yin and yang, right? They're both the swings. I understand that later Ra had said he wished he had said this and that, because I felt like I was also reading into detriment and exalted as, one is good and one is bad, when it's really just two sides of a coin, right? So do you have anything else to comment on that? Like, especially because your name basically embodies that. Like, what would you use, or do you look at? Because I'm pretty sure exaltation and detriment also appears in astrology, right?
Yes, but when I'm looking at astrology, I know where the planets have their rulerships. And, they're strong in some places and a little weaker in other places. And they're not as happy in some signs as they are in other signs. So knowing that, I don't think about it in terms of exalted and detriment. I look at a person's chart. And I remember when OJ killed his wife, and it was in our neighborhood. So it was very scary because, we passed by the house where she was killed and you could see evidence initially. And, maybe we lived 2 miles from OJ. He was right down Sunset. We lived right off Sunset. So when Katie was studying the charts, it was hours and hours in detail and detail. And I wondered, even at the time, why she needed to spend so much time. She knew the answer, and she was just getting more data to support. She believed he killed his wife. Everybody in Brentwood knew he killed his wife. We just knew it. But when I look at a chart or a noble energy map, I'm looking for the flow of energy. I'm looking at the timing. I'm looking at what makes the person the person. I'm not looking for detail on a microscopic level because we don't live at that level. So I've never looked at what Ra wrote about the lines. I did early on. They made no sense to me whatsoever. They seemed like they were looking for something in the mental world body map that was pushing too hard to find something when you could easily find it by looking at the flow of energy. Mm-hmm. And that would be much more empowering for people.
Hi, Sam. Perfect timing. One thing that Ra had suggested people do is write their own I Ching, their own interpretation. Mm-hmm. Did you ever do that? Because there you've got many copies of the book Changes in the house. So did you ever do that? And you feel you didn't need to because it was so complete for you anyways? Or did you ever try that as an exercise?
The body map is a synthesis. When I looked at the body map and I looked at the astrology, and early on, now I had Charles do the astrology on the body graph itself with the hexagrams. Mm-hmm. But what I would do for many, many years was when I would run a chart, I would put in the astrology glyphs next to the hexagrams so that I could read the energy. And knowing the astrology gave me a lot more information than the hexagrams of the I Ching. I'm not an expert on the I Ching. I studied it in my Jungian training. I've read it. I've read the I Ching for years. Mm-hmm. And when I've written or gone through the gates or the channels, I go back to my I Ching books and I double check nuances. But I have not memorized the meaning of all the hexagrams in terms of the actual I Ching and all the lines and all the changes and all of that. I look at them much more from a channel standpoint, knowing what they're showing, and I call it a day.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting. There's almost like different camps right now. So because I'm finding I talk to a lot of folks that are astrologers that found human design, and so there's more emphasis on the astrology. Mm-hmm. And the things they say are very interesting, like you do, because it's thematic and it resonates more. But it seems, on Ra's side, was less interest in astrology.
He had
right?
no interest
He
in
had no
astrology.
interest. So it's
And Bouger was an astrologer. So when I was in his home, there were mountain astrology magazines scattered. I never saw him read anything.
Hmm.
Now, maybe he did on the web, maybe he did in private, but when I was with him, if he was not with a client when he was in our home, he was out in the yard smoking and just sitting.
Did he get parts of astrology in the channeling? Because
No.
right. So that maybe that's part of why he was disinterested, is he didn't feel it was for him or something, I suppose.
No, Ra, made up his stories and he was happy.
Mhm.
And he probably channeled it. And as he said, he never knew when he was going into a lecture what he was going to do. And then he would just speak, sort of like I do.
Cool. I forgot what chakra you wanted to talk about, but I know we're going to. Do you want to?
Which chakra?
Well, I can't remember. You said, hey, well, let's talk about this just before we started. We were going to talk about passage in the book.
Oh, I was asking you if you wanted me to read the meditation on the unified chakra that I had given you this morning.
Oh, read that. Is that what you meant? Oh, sure. Well, that was very powerful. So do you want to do that?
Sure.
Okay. I put it.
And you can cut that as a short.
Yes, definitely. And I can show the diagram and everything. So I'll give you that. Tough to see.
I'll read the instruction, the introduction.
Yeah, and maybe I'll just comment, like this morning when you brought these out, you said, close your eyes, sit down. So I did. And I had already sort of pictured this in my mind, which was very helpful. Because as I went through it, I felt like I was kind of like in this ever increasing egg.
But you want to show them the other side of it, which you're doing, which has the spokes coming out from the bottom. No, turn it around. Yeah. So it has what I put, there were 12 underneath, and those are these astrological signs.
Yeah,
so all of the elements coming out. And notice that they emerge from the sacral center, as we were talking about yesterday, that the sacral center is the anchor.
Okay.
And in the Tree of Life, as I talked about in my classes and talked about yesterday, the energy starts at the sacral center. And that is the base, the anchor point for spirituality. And so the task of initiation and ascension up to the highest frequency of self-actualization is actually allowing your life to be informed by spirit through your physicality and informing the mental world as well.
Okay.
So I found this invocation to the unified chakra. I did some modification of it, and I don't remember the source of it, but I will look for it and hopefully give it to you to put underneath.
Okay.
Introduction, what this meditation does. The invocation to the unified chakra creates a bubble of light and allows you to handle vaster and vaster frequencies. It acts like a force field. It helps screen out other people's pictures of reality. Most of you walk around running other people's energies because your bodies are separated. The main thing for light workers is to anchor in their bodies and figure out what their energy is. The invocation to the unified chakra is an incredibly powerful rebalancing meditation, activating and surrounding you in love energy that radiates from the heart. The meditation begins with a powerful, well-scientifically documented tool for bringing heart rate variability and breath into coherence, a state during which the heart chakra radiates a measurable field of coherent energy that extends 3 feet around the body. As you begin the invocation, your sympathetic nervous system self-regulates your body chemistry, and you experience a lowering of stress and anxiety, along with increased inner awareness and a happier mood. In addition to the spiritual component of realigning your energy centers, the invocation aids in overall health by helping you effortlessly and naturally center yourself through your words and breath. This process, when done mindfully, is called heart math lock-in technique. So I added that piece in. Thus, the meditation as an individual meditation spreads and radiates love of self as divine love and light. The unified chakra is the best way to assist your spirit with every breath and every step. Do it every single time you notice that you're in the past or in the future. At first, it will seem like an incredible task, but if you do it with discipline, you will find that within 2 weeks, you will unify instantly. By the end of 4 to 5 weeks, you won't step out of the merge. Unlike a lot of meditations, you do not leave your body. You stay conscious. It's an altered state, but one you can live in.
And just to be clear, before you start reading it, you're suggesting listen to what you're about to say for 2 to 3 weeks, and then 4 weeks it locks in, is what you said. Okay.
Or, well, they don't have it. You have it. You can just read it.
Sure. Okay.
Okay. Invocation to the unified chakra. Close your eyes. Settle yourself in a place that's comfortable, where you can be uninterrupted, and begin by breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth. I breathe in light through the center of my heart, opening my heart into a beautiful ball of light, allowing myself to expand. I breathe in light through the center of my heart, allowing the light to expand, encompassing my throat chakra and my solar plexus chakra in one unified field of light, within, through, and around my body. I breathe in light through the center of my heart, allowing the light to expand, encompassing my brow chakra and my navel chakra in one unified field of light, within, through, and around my body. I breathe in light through the center of my heart, allowing the light to expand, encompassing my crown chakra and my base chakra in one unified field of light, within, through, and around my body. I breathe in light through the center of my heart, allowing the light to expand, encompassing my alpha chakra, 8 inches above my head, and my omega chakra, 8 inches below my spine, in one unified field of light, within, through, and around my body. I allow the wave of Metatron to move between these 2 points. I am a unity of light. I breathe in light through the center of my heart, allowing the light to expand, encompassing my 8th chakra above my head and my upper thighs in one unified field of light, within, through, and around my body. I allow my emotional body to merge with my physical body. I am a unity of light. I breathe in light through the center of my heart, allowing the light to expand, encompassing my 9th chakra above my head and my lower thighs in one unified field of light, within, through, and around my body. I allow my mental body to merge with my physical body. I am a unity of light. I breathe in light through the center of my heart, allowing the light to expand, encompassing my 10th chakra above my head and to my knees, in one unified field of light, within, through, and around my body. I allow my spiritual body to merge with my physical body, forming the unified field. I am a unity of light. I breathe in light through the center of my heart, allowing the light to expand, encompassing my 11th chakra above my head and my upper calves, in one unified field of light, within, through, and around my body. I allow the oversoul to merge with the unified field. I am a unity of light. I am a unity of light. I breathe in light through the center of my heart, allowing the light to expand, encompassing my 12th chakra above my head and my lower calves in one unified field of light, within, through, and around my body. I allow the Christ oversoul to merge with the unified field. I am a unity of light. I breathe in light through the center of my heart, allowing the light to expand, encompassing my 13th chakra above my head and my feet in one unified field of light, within, through, and around my body. I allow the I am oversoul to merge with the unified field. I am a unity of light. I breathe in light through the center of my heart, allowing the light to expand, encompassing my 14th chakra above my head and my feet in one unified field of light, within, through, and around my body. I allow the source's presence to move throughout the unified field. I am a unity of light. I breathe in light through the center of my heart. I ask that the highest level of my spirit radiate forth from the center of my heart, filling this unified field completely. I radiate forth throughout the day. I am a unity of spirit. Imagine a thick line of light beginning at the Omega chakra, 8 inches below your spine, extending upwards through your spine and on upwards into the upper part of the unified field. Ground into the vastness of your spirit, not into the planet she's mutating to. Allow your spirit to stabilize you. Run 12 lines of light downward from the point of the Omega chakra, opening around your feet like a cone. You are not grounding into the earth. You are stabilizing yourself across the parallel realities of the planetary hologram. I live within the light. I love within the light. I laugh within the light. I am sustained and nourished by the light. I joyously serve the light, for I am the light. I am the light. I am the light. I am, I am, I am.
That's powerful.
Very powerful.
It's funny. There's parts of that I don't remember from last time either. I think I just was zoning, just enjoying.
I guess you were gone.
Yeah, cool.
Nice to be gone that way.
It is. Yeah. No. And now I'm buzzing. So, well, where do we go from here? Who painted that?
For Marvin's 80th birthday party, a friend of ours, I did a karaoke party for him for his 80th. And we probably had,
did he sing?
70 or 80 people in our living room.
Mm-hmm.
We had such a beautiful house in California with a living room that was 50 by 20. Mm-hmm. So it was huge. And we had all kinds of meetings there with as many as 100 people. And so I made him a karaoke party, and one of our good friends had done karaoke as part of his profession. So he brought his karaoke, and it was really a professional karaoke party. And one of our friends, she was our masseuse, and she would come, and of course the boys would be there, and she would bring them treats. And so Loretta loved the dogs, and she knew that when we got Mac, the white dog, and I took a picture of him and Marvin, they looked so much alike. It was uncanny. And everybody said, he looks like Marvin. And anyhow, so Loretta had this painted for us with Mac and Marvin and Sam and me.
Very good.
And so we had it hanging in our kitchen in California. And here we put it in our sauna exercise room.
Mm-hmm. I think that's where I borrowed it from. Yeah. What did you sing?
May I speak?
Yeah, of course you can speak. You can come into the picture and speak.
I'm not really. So I'm not. So what's your question?
What did you sing at your karaoke party on your birthday?
We sang, son-in-law Mike Johnson was there, and our friend Jack Marsteller, and Diane sang, and our, all the females who were sometimes shy. Some of them you never know they would ever sing. They were up there singing, of course.
And people were dancing. We were there. Our house was built. It was a very open floor plan. With the living room was a whole wall of windows and sliding doors, and so most of the people were in the living room, and the singers would come up to the dining room where we had the etched glass that's now in my sitting room. And so there was like a divider, and you could see, it was just a low fence, and above it, and in that divider was Noble, etching of Noble, and so people were standing, singing, and many people were taking videos, and the people who were in the living room were either singing or dancing, but they didn't want to be on stage, so they would chime in, but they didn't want to be visible. But a lot of people dancing, and the dogs were out and running around, and the cats were out, and it was just a blast.
Awesome.
And we started probably.
There were a lot of beverages, so a lot of people.
And a lot of sweets.
A lot of people who would have been silent were no longer silent. And one of our vet friend was singing. I never thought she would sing, and then our assistant and her friend Lisa was singing. It was country western, and Jack Marsteller and Mike Johnson. I don't think they stopped for 4 hours. I think
they just kept going.
They were just there. People fed them, and they're standing there nonstop singing. It was amazing. It was quite an experience.
You still haven't answered my question. What song did you sing? Or and if
what
you sang
song?
and if you sang a bunch, what would be your go-to song? Like if you had one song to sing, what's your go-to? That's what I want to know.
Well,
I think one of them was Watching the River Run, because that's what we sang in India.
Right, Watching the River Run. We sang Willie Nelson, Willie Waylon and the Boys, Lukenbach, Texas, because Mike and Diane, we sang about Lukenbach, Texas, where our friend Cindy, who was part of all this work, lived right near Lukenbach, Texas. She lived in Fredericksburg, Texas, for years. So it was a blast. It was amazing. It was an amazing.
It was too many years ago to remember exactly which song he picked.
You don't remember what song? Did you sing?
I did sing some.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What would be your go-to song if it was today?
If it was today, it would be Music of the Night from the Phantom of the Opera.
Okay. Yeah. And today, if you had to pick one right now, what's your comfort song, or what would you can just
Don't let your daughter marry a cowboy, something like that, something like
Okay,
that.
so
Oh, you know that song?
I think so.
Don't let your daughter marry the cowboy.
One of the motivations for it was that Mike played the ukulele, and so when he and Diane would come for dinner, he would bring his ukulele, and we would all sing.
Mhm.
And up in the library are some of the songbooks that we used.
Okay.
So, you know, it sort of came out of that Mike with his ukulele. I don't know that he brought his ukulele to
He didn't. We can't have karaoke. You don't need a
Yeah.
ukulele.
But Marvin on his computer has all 2,000 songs.
From the karaoke.
Yeah.
It was my dream party.
Was it?
Yeah, because I sing. I'm a singer.
Was it a surprise party or?
No,
Okay.
I don't like surprises, but I cooked everything. I baked everything.
Yeah.
I made all the food.
It was an amazing.
Before I went keto 5 years ago, I baked every day. And baking was my meditative relaxation.
Mhm.
And I ate it. And I love to bake. So I made all of the favorites. And, I don't even remember what I cooked, but I cooked.
You're at least at 7 or 8 desserts.
At least.
So what did you replace baking with at the time? If that was kind of your
Now?
meditation, yeah. What took that slot?
I didn't.
You still meditate. You just was.
I meditate.
That was where like it was.
No,
an
that's
enjoyable
separate.
thing you
That's a
did.
separate meditation.
Right.
I'd finish work, maybe I'd see 8 patients, and I'd finish for the day, and I'd go into the kitchen and I would whip up some wonderful pastry. And I would often give them away. I didn't eat everything.
Mhm.
And I would often make things that Marvin liked that weren't necessarily things that I was going to eat. I'm very specific about what I eat.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I've noticed.
I'm very happy to eat anything that she makes.
And I tend to eat the same thing every day if I can.
Mhm.
I eat the same breakfast, the same lunch, very minimal. Most people couldn't survive on it. And then I eat a small dinner.
Mhm.
And recently I cut out vegetables because they're not healthy for me.
As in not fresh enough, or just
No,
it's
they
like
bloat
overcomplaining?
me.
Mm.
And I kept saying, I'm eating fiber has never been great for me.
Mhm.
So I drink a green juice, but I've cut back on a lot of vegetables that aren't ideal for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, as you know, I had stomach surgery, a very small stomach. I need to get protein, and I need to prioritize protein. So my vegetables come in greens plus, which ends up being a drink. So
Yeah.
I basically don't eat vegetables, but it's mostly because I got nowhere to put them. It's a lot of effort to chew them. So
I use farmer's juice,
Yeah.
which is, green juice.
Mhm.
I haven't given that up because I feel like my body wants it.
Mhm.
But the other,
Yeah, the greens plus, I find it gives me such a boost, and I'm getting what I need.
I think I've
But it's
substituted the greens with coconut cream ice cream that we make.
That replaces that? Oh, okay, well, that's tasty.
Isn't that great?
Yeah, I don't mind that. So
I mean,
I never thought of it replacing vegetables.
It's a fruit.
Yeah.
You can argue it's a fruit, just like
Yeah.
I tell patients, oh yeah, you like chocolate. Well, chocolate is a bean. So think of yourself as you're having beans, except it's a cacao bean,
Yeah.
right?
I can make that justification with a lot of things, though. That gets me into trouble. So
Right.
So where do you want to go now?
I don't know. So many places. We talked about aliens a bit, or it's
I've
such an
had alien
interesting time.
contact.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about that? Cool.
I like aliens.
Mhm.
I like that whole field. I have a client who has contact with aliens every single day. And I am a consultant for MUFON. So MUFON is the UFO network that is when people have extraterrestrial experiences and they get talk about aliens.
That was an alarm clock. I'm going to put this on Do Not Disturb. I forgot to do that. The aliens just took over my phone.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was my alarm clock, which was to remind me to check in and see if they had a pickleball slot for me, which I think the answer I already know.
Do they?
I doubt it, because it's like an hour from now. Not so far. We'll check in an hour. Okay, let's try that again.
Okay. So many of the people listening probably have the sense that they're not from here. And from the time I was a young child, I said, this isn't my home. I believe that when I had polio when I was 7, that was my first abduction. I do have missing time. I remember a great deal about the experience. I was not very sick. The first day I got sick, we were at my, we lived in New York, but we were in Florida visiting my mother's relatives and her mother. I remember playing Monopoly the day I got sick. And the headache, you cannot even imagine the kind of headache it was. And as soon as the doctor came, he knew, because I couldn't put my head back. And they rushed me to the hospital for a spinal tap. And then I was in a room. Of course, my mother wasn't, nobody was with me. I was put in a room and told, and this is a 7-year-old, lay flat, don't move, because if you move or lift your head, you're going to have an excruciating headache. So there I was laying flat, and I could see the nurses' station, and I could hear them talking about me and deciding what to do with me. And then they rushed me by ambulance to a quarantine hospital. So I was in quarantine, no visitors. I didn't know my mother was visiting, and I was fine. I was talking to the people, and mostly I was asked to lay flat to keep my spine, whatever. I was in the hospital for 10 days. I had non-paralytic polio. I don't have any after effects. But for years afterwards, I knew that something had happened that was very significant, and I didn't quite know what. It turned out that it was the first time I actually had an out-of-body experience. And I think I was abducted. There was another really important aspect to that that's epigenetic, which is that we were in Florida. It was a Saturday when it was a Friday when I was diagnosed. I was transferred to the hospital on Saturday. We were supposed to leave for New York the following Thursday. There was no communication. So I thought, okay, if they leave, I'm okay. I don't know why I thought that. But later, many years, for many years, I was trying to figure out what was that experience about. And in 1976, I was sitting with my mother at the airport in Phoenix, which is where she was living. And I was headed back to Chicago. And I had always been concerned that maybe she was going to die soon. And I was sitting at the airport and we were talking, and she said, somehow we got onto my polio experience. And she said to me, I was there every day. I would travel an hour and a half on the bus to get to that hospital. And I would stand in front of the door for the whole day and watch you. I had no idea. And as she said that to me, I realized that it was her issue of abandonment, because she had an older brother who died when he was 13 and she was 12. And I realized that because I was not fearful about being abandoned, I was helping my mother work through her issue. And it was a very clear perspective to me, because as I got up from that conversation and walked to the plane, and you know how you get on a plane and you look back to see the person you've left?
Mhm.
I looked back at my mother and I knew she wasn't going to die for a very long time.
Mm.
That the issue was cleared. And it showed me a lot of things, including the fact that during that experience, my psychic abilities had reached a different level. And it kept me very interested in the information on UFOs. So when in 1987, I was driving with one of our kittens who we had just gotten down. We lived on a mountain. So in order to get down to go anywhere, you either had to go up to Sunset Boulevard or down to the Coast Highway. So I was headed down to the Coast Highway to take my cat to the vet. And as I was coming down, I suddenly stopped and there was a UFO right above me. I felt it. It was unlike any object I'd ever seen in the sky before.
So when you say you felt it, did you see it as well? Like
I first felt something, and it made me look up. And there it was, a disc, looked like a disc. It was shiny. And as I looked at it, and I got the chills, and I was in the movie industry at the time, so I had a cell phone before cell phones were popular. So I immediately called Marvin and I said, holy shit, I just saw a UFO. And as I said it to him, it was gone.
Mm.
But not like, it was not like an airplane.
Mm-hmm.
It was just like the sky opened up and it was gone.
And was there any sound? Like
no sound.
No
it was
thrust.
completely silent.
Yeah, okay.
And it was, I felt something physical from it. So I got really interested in the research. I read the Blue Book. I went to some UFO meetings. I read everything I could lay my hands on about UFOs and extraterrestrials. And then I think it was 1992, Stephen Greer came to LA and we went out with him on an expedition. It's when he was first starting to do CE5.
I haven't heard of CE5. I know of Stephen Greer, but I don't know of CE5.
What Stephen believed at the time, and still does, is that you can vector in the UFOs. So if enough people are meditating in the right state of mind and calling to them, they will come. And so we went out to Simi Valley. It's the north side of Los Angeles, very rural area, mountainous. We went up to a mountain and he set up his lights and we waited. We didn't see anything, but when I left, I had a reaction in my hands that was extreme to cold, to the point that I couldn't even open my freezer to take something out because I would react so badly that my hands would get the color of your hair. Mm-hmm. And it was it was painful. But Stephen was extremely interesting, very credible. And he explained a lot about what he had experienced. And, you know, his belief was that extraterrestrials, we should establish diplomatic relationships with extraterrestrials, that they were not here to conquer us or anything else. I was really busy, so I moved on. And then one of my clients from Chicago, who I've stayed in touch with many of my clients, married someone who is a MUFON first responder. So if there's a sighting, he would go check it out. And people do have implants. I think at one point I had an implant in my back.
Yes, it was blue, right?
It was blue. And when it was taken out, the dermatologist could not identify what it was. I finally had, after probably 20 years, had it taken out. And when it was in, nobody could touch that spot without it being very painful. So I had this contact with these people who are high up in MUFON, and became a psychologist on call for MUFON. So if anybody had UFO experiences, often they're traumatic, they could come to me and I could do hypnosis with them, see what happened to them, do some regression with them. We know Marvin was abducted when he was a teenager. And in a hypnosis, he remembered. And it was in that extraterrestrial experience that he had, that he was told that he was a healer and should become a medical doctor. And when he came back from that experience, which was around high school, correct? He decided to be a doctor. In any case, MUFON referred me someone who has extraterrestrial experiences every single day. And when he first started with me, as I would do with any client coming from that alternate reality, I insisted that before I would take him on as a client, that he have brain scans. So I knew there was no tumor or abnormality or psychosis. Mm-hmm. He was clean. And through the years, I've been working with him probably 8 to 10 years. And I've only met him once. And he has given me a lot of information about all the installations he's been taken to. Many of his illustrations prior to being educated were images I had seen before. I also, when we were at Machu Picchu, I drew some images and I had no recollection of drawing them. I have them, they show portals and gateways and pathways to other dimensions. So what I've learned is that there are many different extraterrestrial species. Oh, and my son had an experience of an ET in his bedroom.
Okay.
It happened in 2004. And he was sleeping, when he and his wife got married, they were sleeping alternating bedrooms because they had cats and dogs. And so they'd give the dogs a turn and the cats a turn. So one night he was sleeping and all of a sudden he woke, sat up in bed, and there was this blue light in his palm. And his wife was sleeping next to him. And he's looking at this blue light and he looks up and there's an ET in his bedroom. And as he looked at it, it went out the window. And it was 3 a.m, so he called Diane, who was in England at the time, so he wouldn't wake me up. But he validated in the moment what the experience was.
And it was a gray, wasn't it?
It was a gray, a small gray. So there are a number of species of extraterrestrials. They have been known to dismantle nuclear reactors when there's danger. Yeah,
Someone's
it is
gotta do
good. They have stopped some catastrophes.
Mhm.
What I've heard and read is that because of the politics on planet Earth, that we are not being admitted to the Federation, the Galactic Federation, and that until there is stability here, we won't be. But it's coming. And I believe that I have faith that despite the political situation that's currently going on in the world, that the extraterrestrials will not let there be a nuclear war. And that we are at a turning point between good and evil. Many of the other beings in the galaxy are honest and pure and conscious, and some are evil. And we are now fighting the evil.
Mhm.
I know many, many people who've seen UFOs.
Yeah. So many places we can go with that.
Where do you want to go?
Well, I think we've talked about November. November seems to be like a time frame that it's on a lot of people's lips lately. Seems, at least that's what.
Well,
I'm
that's
hearing from
because
most
there's
people.
the US election.
Yeah, in this case though, it's about like first contact is usually the phrasing. So
It could be.
yeah, like there's just
David
something.
Wilcock is going to do a show again tomorrow. He usually goes for 3 hours, which is very long.
Today.
But
That's short for him, isn't
Doing
it?
it today.
short for him. But he is going to, I believe, talk about a prophecy of extraterrestrials surfacing.
Mhm.
The world situation is bad enough that that might be necessary.
Mhm.
Go on, Sam. He's such a
Um,
good watchdog. Does Arlena have Mac?
I haven't seen Mac in a while.
He's downstairs
It's
with
been
Arlena.
quiet, but hmm.
Have you had any experiences with extraterrestrials or UFOs?
I don't think so. Although one time we did talk about, like as a child or as a kid, that I told you about my friend Chris and the whole pencil my leg thing, and his dad and mom, and then just being in his backyard. And my memory is I saw something, but that whole chain of events was so strange that I definitely question it. But I have tons of disassociative events. So yeah.
Missing time is one of the keys.
Mhm. Yeah, and lots of missing time.
Oh,
So
so you could have been.
yeah, but like I
Have
don't
you done
remember
any
anything.
hypnotic regression for it?
No, I did. I think I told you I met with my friend Vicky 2 weeks before I came here, and we were going to do regression, but we ended up just doing sort of a straight hypnosis session, which was very, very powerful. But yeah, it just didn't seem like the right time. But I'd be curious, and yeah, I feel like I want to tell this story because maybe it'll help others. I was on a hypnosis course in Toronto, and the main instructor is Mike Mandel. So that's it. It's Mike Mandel Hypnosis Academy. Very good, very educational and fun. He talked about using hypnosis to get people to find a past event as well. So this one wasn't an alien one, but like it definitely helps cement for me the power of hypnosis, right? Like the belief or the foundation of it. So like in one case, he was working with the police, and I guess a woman was at a drive, like working in a drive-through, like a Burger King or something, and it was late at night, and a van pulled up, and a shotgun gun came out of the window of the van, right between her eyes. So she basically blacked out, or and so I guess she gave him money. He drove away. She blank white slate, doesn't remember a thing.
Mm.
They bring in Mike to hypnotize her, and they were able to get the license plate of the truck 100 feet away because as it was driving away, her eyes, her brain saw it, and I guess the truck drove under a light that was shining enough that she could make out the license plate, and she had it deadly accurate, except instead of a 5, it was an S or vice versa. So they still found the van, 2 miles down the road, like a week later or something. Like it was when he told that story, I was just like, okay. So like it doesn't surprise me at all. I guess, and the question was, did you use hypnosis with Marvin to do that? That was you that did that? For
We were studying with someone who was teaching past life regression.
Okay.
But I studied past life regression with Dolores Cannon.
Oh, did you? Directly? Okay.
When
Oh.
all of her notes were typewritten.
So
it was
worked with Dolores Cannon.
Early on.
Of course you did. See, that's never come up either. But we'll come back to that then. But do you recall before the hypnosis, that event, or it came from doing that regression thing that
it came during the regression thing.
Like prior to that, you would have said you didn't have an encounter,
right?
Probably, right?
I did remember that.
Yeah.
I didn't really know, were there other memories that I had?
Someone's asked me to put the camera
but a lot of that got clarified after some of that work. And if I remember, you actually did do some work with me yourself.
I did.
And that helped.
Yes.
Some other events. So I know, looking back, I had multiple experiences.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I did. I played with past life regressions, and
Well, it was helpful.
I also have used hypnosis for anesthesia during surgery with for, some clients with no other anesthesia.
I'm just out of curiosity because I learned how to do that on this course. It was the Esdale technique. Is that what you used?
I don't know.
Okay, because I learned how to use this hypnotic technique, and it's fascinating. Like within 5 minutes, this person was out, and you could use them like a mannequin. Like their arms were ratcheting, and it's incredible.
The danger with hypnosis is if you don't know, it's like using LSD. If you don't know the person's psyche, if you do it with the person who's not stable, they can. The term is abreact, and you need to know how to handle that. Because
they can be compensated.
Yeah, and people can really have a bad time. The psyche is not something for people to mess with if they're not experienced clinically.
For sure. Well, and just on that LSD topic, because I'd love to mix the two of these, because I think there's a story there too, for sure. Like having experienced LSD in a setting where I knew I was taking it and I knew what I was taking, and still experiencing what I did, which was like the visuals were, and I don't have visuals basically in dreams or otherwise, but it was unbelievable. Without a doubt, I think if someone was dosed with LSD and didn't know, they would have near-death experiences, they've seen God, and people could be very manipulative, right? And certainly that's what Charles Manson did, is he dosed people and convinced them to do horrible things, right? And I feel like it was Dr. Stephen Greer was talking about, roughly 40% of alien abductions are probably the government doing it to basically set up the idea that, we need an alien invasion because we're done fighting the Russians, we're done fighting the Koreans.
Well, they want people fearful.
Yeah, so we need a new enemy, and that's a new.
Well, but right? There are tunnels under the Antarctic. There's tunnels under the Arctic. There's installations all over the place, and there's a whole world we don't know about and haven't been informed about by the government. And according to David Wilcock, top secret goes 12 levels above the president.
So just to add in, I remember when Donald Rumsfeld, I think he was the Secretary of Defense, spoke and said that there was $2 or $3 trillion missing in the Defense Department's budget. So the money was missing. I served in the military during Vietnam, and I was naive at that point, but later I became educated about how this works. I don't want to get into too much information. This is not my place here, but there's lots of money floating around a long time ago, and especially the last few years, where things can be done and certain people benefit and other people don't benefit. And ordinary people like my patients, when I was in the Navy, Marines, and sailors, got killed and wounded. And it's one of the reasons I've turned into become a peacenik, like the crazy hippies I thought they were in the 60s, who actually at some level knew that war was bad. And I have come to agree with them after all these years.
Well, and for me, that comes back to even just LSD, partly because it was synthesized in the 50s. The government, from what I understand, immediately jumped and put a patent on it and then to bury it because people were free thinking. And Nixon wanted people to go to war and collect oil and solve other people's problems. And people don't, when they feel love and they feel open and they can think for themselves, they don't want to go kill other people.
But
So
let's bring
the war on drugs, right?
let's bring that back to human design. It's a limited system, and any system that limits people and doesn't empower them with freedom to be whoever they want to be is a faulty system. And we've been deluded.
As Osho described, when you just read the description of your name, he talks
And
about it.
and also in the unified chakra, they cover the 4 worlds.
But we saw Timothy Leary, remember?
Oh yeah, oh God.
And
We tried to sit through a presentation and he was so gone. It was painful to watch him. He fried his brain.
I always had a hard time following him. Terence McKenna, on the other hand,
Yeah, he's good.
brilliant and just yeah.
well, he was, like the early people who played with radiation, and most of them died of radiation. So Timothy Leary, unfortunately, got sacrificed in the process of being the pioneer, and it was sad to see.
We couldn't sit through it.
Yeah, it was.
We lasted about 15 minutes and then we had to leave. It was too painful.
Yeah.
Anyhow, where do you want to go?
Well, I still want to float around the LSD space a bit, partly because
I don't know anything about LSD.
That's okay. I know a little bit, but
Yeah.
I'd be curious to your feedback because you lived in the area, like Silicon Valley, that whole area. There's all sorts of great minds that came from that area, and a lot of them were doing psychedelics, and so they were removed from a lot of this because they could see through it. I think there is value in that medicine. Why do I want to go there? Well, for me, it's we wouldn't be sitting here talking if I hadn't had those experiences because I needed that. That was
to open you to spirit.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and it was a combination of mushrooms, and LSD is something I've only touched a bit because it's just so different. It's very different than mushrooms and cannabis.
I've never had a mushroom experience, and I've never had an LSD experience. I've been not wanting to risk my consciousness with anything artificial.
And we didn't do ayahuasca.
No, we didn't.
Offered.
Yeah, the shaman in Pucallpa, Peru, Shipibo tribe. When we went to the Amazon rainforest, we went with John Easterling of Amazon Herb, and we were the first group, 5 of us, who he brought into the Shipibo tribe. So we were the first white people to visit them as a group. Beside John. And when we met with the shaman, he looked at me and he gave me a branch of the bush. And he said to me, "You come back. You do a trip with me."
But didn't he also want you to be one of his wives?
Yeah.
Yeah, he said, which number, 6 or 7?
I don't know, but he told Marvin, I want her. I said, I'm going home.
Yeah, I don't necessarily want to harp on the medicine thing, but I feel like I want to tell you this story too, because at one point I tried, it's called 5-MeO-DMT. So it's, the synthetic name is called Jaguar, but it's basically like ayahuasca times 10. But it's about a 20-minute trip. It's not, days and purging. It's, and before I did it, because I went there prepared, I had heard many people describe it as it's like being strapped to the outside of a rocket naked. You fly into space, and all of a sudden you're on a whiteboard, and then someone just goes, "No, you're not," and you just disappear. And now you're just breathing the universe. And much as I don't remember most of it in the 15 minutes, I was also gone for a long time. And some of the things that I got from that, I don't really want to talk about here, but like it's all proven to be happening, right? And I've been like trying to deconstruct it ever since. But also in that same time period, I went there with I was pending a root canal. So I had gone to the dentist and she had tapped the tooth and it was kind of dead. And I was scheduled to go like in 2 weeks to go have it out, or 3 weeks. Well, in this experience, I was talking to that wisdom tooth, and it was basically telling me it's not dead yet. And I could, in my mind's eye, feel a path from the root of the tooth going down my throat. And so I was like, oh, that's really interesting. And it also told me somehow that I had other metal in my mouth. And I knew I had it, but over time it replaced. But I was like, okay, I guess there's still something there. So I come out of it, and then for the next 2 weeks, I just sort of did my usual process, which was dig out that metaphysical book, look up root canal, what is the core dis-ease that it came from. And then I was on CBD, which allowed me to like push my body further. And I would just massage my gums pushing up. And it was excruciating, actually, like, because I had another one recently that started on this side and I used the same technique and now it's fine. But at the time, it was like an electrical volt. Like it was just so excruciating. And I was just pushing up from the root. But then at some point, something went and this white pus sort of came out and then it was fine. And when I went to see the dentist 2-3 weeks later it was
fine
because I said, like, I don't know that I needed this out. Can we take a look? She's like, yeah, it's totally fine. So, I mean, I'm sure like the root could be totally dead, but in that experience, my body was speaking to me saying, it's not dead, don't give up. And then I just already had this process of find the metaphysical reason, use what you know, the CBD, massage it out. And then when I was there, I was like, I feel like there's metal in my mouth. Can you confirm? She's like, yeah, I didn't notice anything. And sure enough, there's one little piece like up on this tooth. So I had her take that out too. And I just, afterwards, I felt cleaner. Like it was like, a foreign metal was finally out of my body. And my body was like grateful for that. And that happened from this 5-MeO thing. Like it was like no word of a lie. All that came to me from that experience. So now I'm done on that.
Drugs used properly can be very beneficial.
Oh, for sure.
And now, I think a lot's being explored in a much more scientific and grounded way. So there is a use. I know there are a lot of people doing MDMA and becoming addicted to it. And a lot of the people doing it are not qualified psychotherapeutically. So it becomes more of a drug experience than a real therapeutic experience.
I totally get it. MDMA is lovely. Like it is a really lovely experience. I could see wanting to repeat that. At the same time, it's also an ass kicking. Like for 2 days after, all your serotonin's gone, and you're just like, it's almost not worth the pre-effect.
I would never do it, so I don't know.
For me, it was hugely beneficial, but it also opened my eyes up to hypnosis because that's what it felt like. Like MDMA was like blissful hypnosis, and it made me curious about it, so I didn't have to use that as the path. But again, where I was at that point in life, I kind of need to be hit by the jumpers. So,
have we said enough to caution people? I mean,
I'd be happy to, because
I'm just saying, you seem to have the ability to go through these things and to come out the other side and experience it as a net positive
Mhm.
for the most part. That's not everyone's experience.
Mm-mm.
So, and as professionals, Eleanor and I have had the experience of seeing people who've been damaged by the kinds of things that you went through
Mhm.
and came through the other side.
Mhm.
So we're not recommending
Nope.
any of these things clearly to people, and you have to make choices. And it's like anything else, you know, people, I mean, I took risks hiking alone in the mountains, scuba diving and running out of air. I mean, all these kinds of things, breaking my ankle alone in the mountains, you know, on some ice and having to crawl out with a stick. So we've all sort of taken risks and mostly survived and sometimes not.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, you have to make choices.
Well, yeah, no, I'll address that. Like, I'm not the kind of guy that generally would jump out of a plane or jump off a high dive. I'm just not
I
a
mean,
risk
like
taker.
Cindy jumps out of plane.
Yeah, not like Cindy. So I'm not a risk taker that way, but I with this, it has been worth it because of the value I've gotten from it, but it has been with intention. So, you know, the one thing that you always say about working with plant medicine is it's setting an intention. And it's a cute phrase because really, but it's important to call, like, the first part's mindset. What is your mindset at the time you're doing this? And what is the setting? Is it safe? And then what is your intention with it? My intention each time is, this time I would like to address that, right? So I go into it like a medical experiment, for like, you know, like I'm going into it because of those reasons. But you always make sure your mindset didn't, you know, I want to do a meditation before going into the medicine. I want to make sure that I didn't just have a fight with my wife or something. I don't want to mix it with other things. And then the setting, is it a safe setting? Do I have a trip sitter? Do I have someone I can call
Right.
if I'm having to, like, all those things? And
Someone
then the
who's
intention.
experienced or
Yeah.
nearby or with you.
Yeah.
Whatever, who can
Yeah, and
facilitate.
we were talking about cannabis a bit this morning, but like I'm grateful that I never smoked weed when I was in my 20s. I grew up in the 80s, war on drugs. I thought, like, if I smoked a joint, my head would burst into flames. Like, I had that level of fear around it, more fear of my parents.
Your hair turned purple.
Yeah, it turned purple. But yeah, but I was kind of lucky that I discovered plant medicine at 49, and it was in an edible form, because actually my feeling with that too is it's a full body experience. I think when we smoke it, it goes right here straight to the head, the lung, like we're just cut off. And so the mind isn't connected to the body. So it's great. You can go and play in your mind, but you're not talking to your body. So when I use cannabis, I'm always going for the full spectrum, and I'm going for which part of the plant and what's my intention with it. So, you know, my daily stack depends on what I'm looking for. CBD is part of every day because it's at 50, my it's my apple cider vinegar, and it just allows me to push and pull, and my yoga, I can stretch further, which is making me feel younger all the time. And then I think I was saying this morning, like I having a very busy brain and ADHD type, I just assumed that having sativa would be bad for me because that was always about, like, energy, and I was like, the last thing I need is more of that. So I was experimenting first with indica, but then I was just always tired and always hungry, and it took talking to someone that said, "Oh, no, you want to actually, like, try the sativa," and I couldn't believe the difference. So, like, I make sure if I get cannabis and it's an edible, I'm looking for sativa for me, unless I want to, like, watch a movie and pass out or something. And then, but we were talking about CBG as well. Really helpful for cognitive stuff, but without a high. Because with the sativa or indica, I get goldfish brain. Like, I can get really into flow, but I have to set alarms. Like, remember to, you know, get back to Eleanor, because otherwise I won't. I get really into flow with it. And I want to tell this as well, because not many people, I think, know about CBC yet. And the only way I can get it at home is as a gummy for some reason. So it always comes with THC in it. So it means I get goldfish brain. But CBC, this part of the cannabinoid plant, someone has suggested, like, if you like CBD for pain, CBC is really amazing and cognitively next level as well. So somehow they extract this thing. I had a bag of it and I hadn't tried it yet, but I knew I had it. And that morning I played pickleball with my friends. It was like 7 in the morning. And for whatever reason, I dove through the air to get a ball, landed on my hip really hard, wood floor. And within an hour, I was like hobbling, like really, really sore. It was a bruise and everything. So I go home, and I'm tired, I have a nap. I wake from the nap feeling even worse. And I thought, oh, okay, today's a write-off. I'll just, I'm sore. And I thought, oh wait, I've got that CBC stuff. So I went and had that. An hour later, zero pain, like it was like it didn't exist. I actually got a ride to pickleball because I didn't feel good about driving. And I played the best pickleball of my life. Like I was jumping through the air. It was unreal.
Was that the same day?
Same day, like 6 hours later.
Mm.
And it was weird because I'm at this place and my partners were getting frustrated with me because in pickleball you always say the score. Like when you go to serve, you say the score. And I had goldfish brain. I couldn't remember the score. So it was like I was like sometimes they'd be like, "We just won." I was still asking what the score was. Like I was just in flow in the moment. It was incredible. It really showed me the power of that. So for whatever reason at home right now, I can only get CBC with THC. So it's for acute pain management when I need to be in the right position. And I don't use it unless it is something extremely painful. CBD is more like traffic flow. My friend Elena had said, you picture CBD like the person, the flag person with the stop sign at a construction zone. They're directing where CBD kind of does that. It's like it's going to direct the energy to the part of the body that needs it most at that time. And otherwise, it's just always doing its thing. And for whatever reason, I think particularly the CBD portion is creating a connection for me with nature. Like it seems to be the link. So yeah, it's something I play with and experiment with quite a bit. Where I'm interested in going next is like growing cannabis or growing other plants and capturing the design date because there may be energies based on the plant's design date. There's a Christmas tree farm down the street from my house. I'm like, I want to go talk to those guys and be like, let's sell someone a Christmas tree that's the right Christmas tree for their family, right? No? Too good an idea? But the other thing, the indigenous use cannabis, but they don't smoke it because that's, taking the energy out of the plant. They rub it on their gums. So wouldn't it be interesting to grow something and just simply we don't have to do anything other than peel a leaf off and rub it on your gums and,
you get the
done
effect.
That for thousands of years, right? So I think the more people talk about this, more.
Well, it's going to be legalized one of these days in all these countries.
Yeah. Canada's been very interesting where I think it was last January, you're now allowed to have up to 2 grams of anything on your person. And much as that sounds like that would be a problem, it's helping, I think, because generally what happens is if you have a problem and you want to get help, you have to surrender. You get incarcerated the second you have anything on you. So at least, you can have whatever's on you, you can go and get help. And so that's, I think, been a very interesting approach. I don't think a lot of people see it that way as it's actually intended to help, but I think it's starting to prove its value. There's a lot of people that have lost loved ones due to someone else being their amplified spirit on whatever spirit they're on. And so I can appreciate things like Mothers Against Drug Driving and the equivalent for these things. But if it's used properly, it absolutely saves lives as well. So, but yeah.
I agree.
Yeah. Cool. Anyway, that's my rant.
Okay. You want to check about your pickleball?
I could. It's basically going to be an email, which I didn't get, and a text, which didn't come either. Yeah, not yet.
Questions?
One question. I think it's YESUA. Is that Yeshua or Joshua? YESUA.
Yeah, Yeshua.
Yeshua? Okay.
Yeshua or Yeshua.
And I know the answer to this. The question is, does Dr. Eller have a YouTube channel? But it's not called Dr. Eleanor, right? Is it?
I think it's Noble Energy Wellness.
Okay.
Or it could be Dr. Eleanor.
Yeah, and we talked about it, but didn't do it today.
Streaming it.
Maybe not tomorrow, depending on timing, but the next time I think we'll just stream to
Okay.
yours and mine at the same time, and then that way people can find it there too. Cool. Well, we're at an hour 24. Are you tapped out, or you want to keep talking?
It's up to you. I don't ever tap out.
Me either, but
I mean,
maybe more so in the last
I
couple
do
days.
have a lot of writing to do.
Okay.
I am going to present 4 lectures in Santa Fe.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, lots of work there.
first one is Self-Center in the Tree of Life and Paths of Intelligence. Second one is The Four Worlds. The third one is my time with Ra and the science that I came up with, my studies. And then the fourth one will just be Q&A.
Cool. Yeah, I'm sure you'll get lots of questions. So I fly out tomorrow afternoon. So unless we feel like doing another one tomorrow, this might be the last one together for a while, other than Zoom or whatever in a week maybe. But do you want to sign off or anything else you want to say?
No, we could do one tomorrow if you want. I'm trying to change. I had some, I think I had 2 or 3 clients. I know I have a dentist cleaning tomorrow. That takes like 20 minutes because I have my teeth cleaned every 8 weeks. I like clean teeth.
Every 8 weeks?
Every 8 weeks.
I'm like every 2 years, which I know is not right either.
On about week 6 or 7, I begin to feel like my teeth need to be cleaned. So the dentist says, last time I went to the dentist came in and looked at me and he said, "Man, you have the cleanest teeth I've ever seen. I wish all my clients took care of their teeth the way you do." But yeah, so I have a quick dentist cleaning, and then I'm sure that the clients I have scheduled would be happy to switch to another time in the week, assuming that I can find a time in the week for them.
Well, now that you brought up the dentists, let's talk about fluoride for a second, because you mentioned fluoride before.
I wouldn't use it.
Yeah, no, I haven't
I
now in
wouldn't
2
use
years.
They
So,
told me at the dentist recently, they always offer you a toothbrush and toothpaste. And they said, you should be using fluoride. And I said, there's no way.
Mhm.
I use Young Living Thieves toothpaste, which is
Okay.
essential oils.
Okay. I use one called Hello, but it doesn't have fluoride in it. And at the time, that was my goal.
Mhm.
And so, the rabbit hole I went down probably 2 years ago when I stopped using it was, you hear these conspiracy theories, but also just straight up that it calcifies the pineal gland, right? Which, how else do you get connected to spirit or source if that thing is like, and so we're brushing our teeth and, gargling and stuff very early.
That has to do with the mass fluoridation of water, which was a mass plan to limit consciousness.
Right.
100%. I agree with you 100%. And it's still happening. Like there's fluoride in the water in Canada and parts of the States I was looking, I guess. And
So do you use purified water?
I do. I think when I get home, I'm going to do a better job of really
When we
seeking
moved
that out.
here, and at Napoli, we had a whole house alkaline water filter for the house, and it purified. And we had pure water out of 2 sinks. But when we moved here, we got a reverse osmosis for the whole house, and then making it alkaline and putting minerals back in. And now we're taking our alkaline water and making it hydrogen water.
Yeah, I absolutely credit it to being a big part of my having Kundalini-like experiences, and it's that plus
Credit what?
not having fluoride. Like it's part of it for sure. Part of it's doing meditations by Dr. Joe Dispenza, and he like has certain meditations that target it and get you to breathe certain ways, and you're pushing energy towards that direction. I found that very, very powerful. But yeah, maybe just to like the point I want to make, because usually when people start talking about fluoride, people go to conspiracy theories and stuff like that, and without a doubt, I don't think we should be having it. And there's a whole industry of 9 out of 10 dentists recommend, and like it's a whole thing. But it does sound like, for example, the Nazis were using it to try to subdue the Jews, and it was effective enough that they were getting what they needed. but it was never really documented because it wasn't efficient enough for what they were trying to do. So then they just straight up
How
started
was
killing
it being
people.
used?
As far as I know, they were dosing them or putting it in the water to,
With fluoride?
yeah, to suppress, like to,
Crystallize the pineal
well,
gland.
yeah, but
To
with the
make them
intention,
more compliant?
yeah, I'm trying to find the right, it was like, it wasn't like neuter, but it was certainly like
Compliant.
complacent, compliant, yeah, like not have no fight within you, no spirit within you. And what you'll usually find, because people talk about it a lot on YouTube, is people will say, "Oh, it's been debunked," and I don't care if there's even 5% truth to it. You know, they were on a mission to exterminate, but in the beginning, they weren't necessarily killing people. They were. It became part of the agenda when they were attacking Russia and they were putting all their effort there. That it was a nuisance, these people, and so they just straight up started hurting them and like all this horrible stuff, right? But they started with fluoride, wasn't effective enough, didn't move on. To me, the message is that that fluoride regime is still here and everywhere, and it's damaging to our spirit.
I think it comes down to each person being able to perceive their own body and to know what's happening in it.
Mhm.
And, we're being poisoned with the food supply now. They're putting plastics in it. Bill Gates is putting a fresh in it, which is very bad.
Not fresh.
It keeps it fresh longer,
Mhm.
but it adds some kind of coating to it that's toxic.
Mhm.
So I know that Costco is now using that on their organic stuff, so we won't shop at Costco anymore.
Mhm.
It's really hard to find pure food.
It is, right? Everything's plastic,
You know what's
and then we're
really
cooking
scary?
things in plastic.
What's really scary to me
Yeah.
is if you look at the pollen counts, like I'd like to do for my allergen, information. There's, a category called dust. And so what's in the dust, outside dust? Well, it used to be dirt, cellulose, broken down animal products or whatever, insect products. But now the major component is plastic in the outside air that we breathe.
Mhm.
I mean, it just.
Oh yeah.
it's-
Well,
we're
nobody,
disconnected.
we also have to be aware that information about plastic wasn't available until now. It's not that people purposely poison,
No.
but they don't know the consequences and haven't sufficiently tested.
Yeah.
And that's partly, to bring it back to design. I respect that Ra wanted the science, but I don't respect that he didn't want to use it.
Mhm.
That if you're going to be ethical, you do the studies and you speak the truth. And any system that damages or disempowers is a system that should be discarded,
Mhm.
in my view.
Yep.
So, Ross spent a lot of time with us. And we were friends as well as colleagues. I mostly hung out when he was outside. She dealt with him when he came in to do work. But outside, he was talkative or not. He had this tendency to move around. He'd go outside, sit in the sun, and then if he get too warm, then he'd move into the shade. And he was, like a creature moving around to places that were more comfortable depending on what he needed.
Mhm.
But he never stopped with the smoking.
Mhm.
That was always.
And it was always marijuana.
Mhm.
No, it was mixed. It was a mixture.
Mixture
of tobacco. More.
I saw him make up his own cigarettes. It was a mixture. He put some tobacco and then he put some weed and he sort of mixed it up together. And
Mhm.
I tried to be upwind from him so I didn't get the downwind effect. So, but yeah, it was interesting.
Cool. Well, we got one last question. And so you're talking about Ra as your house guest. The question is from Vicky. She says, was Sean a good house guest? So, and I'll just preface that with our family rule is fish family or friends are only good for 3 days. So I'm here on day 4. So how am I doing?
Well, Catherine de Jersey always said, after 3
days.
three days,
3 days.
Guests and fish smell,
Mhm.
But she would come and stay for weeks. Yes, Sean has been a good house guest. In our home, the 3rd floor living space is a guest suite and a library
Mhm.
and a storage area. And not as fixed up as we could at this point.
It's perfect.
Well, it's still not all unpacked.
Mhm.
But Sean has his own space, which makes him, as a house guest, much easier.
Mhm.
And he has been a good house guest. He likes the garden.
Mhm.
He likes to sit on the seat around the tree,
Mhm.
the tree seat.
Tree bench, I guess. Would you call it a
Tree bench.
Tree bench, yeah.
Tree bench.
Mhm.
It's a
And
spiral, notice it's a spiral.
Yeah, is it 8 sides? One,
It's a
2, 3,
spiral
4, 5,
because
6,
it's
7.
different levels as you go around the tree. Notice it when you go out there.
Yeah. true.
Oh, that's funny. It is different levels.
Yeah.
It up close, it's not so obvious.
And it's designed.
I thought it was broken. I thought I thought a piece of dent, but no, it's just actually purposely
Designed that
spiral.
way.
That's so funny. From this angle, I can tell. Up close, it almost
But
looks
it
like
was
it collapsed.
intentional.
Are there any other questions, Sean?
No, I think that's it. Kristen Lott says, I like that you changed the picture on the table daily. So there we go.
Good.
Kudos for that. Okay, we good?
We're good.
All right. Well, until next time.
Until next time. We can do it tomorrow if there's time.
Yeah,
If my
we'll see.
clients change, we can do it.
Cool.
Here's
Thank you
this.
very much.
This'll